You retire at 65 with exactly $1 million saved. You've done everything right. You maxed out your 401k for 30 years. You lived below your means. You followed the golden rule of retirement planning, the 4% rule. 4% of $1 million is $40,000 per year. Add Social Security, and you're looking at about $65,000 annually. Comfortable, safe, secure. Fast forward 5 years, you're 70 years old. Your portfolio is down to $720,000. You haven't changed your spending. You haven't made any big purchases. You've withdrawn exactly 4% every year like the rule says. But healthcare premiums have doubled. Inflation has eaten 18% of your purchasing power. And the market had 2 bad years right when you retired. You thought you had 30 years of money. Now you're looking at maybe 12. This isn't a hypothetical nightmare. This is the mathematical reality facing millions of Americans who planned their retirement around a rule that was built for a world that no longer exists. The 4% rule isn't just outdated. It's dangerous. My name is James, and I spend way too much time thinking about why the retirement advice your parents followed will leave you broke at 75. If you've ever calculated your retirement number using the 4% rule, if you've ever been told that $1 million is enough to retire comfortably, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Because today we're exposing why the most famous rule in retirement planning is fundamentally broken in 2025. We're talking about the real number you need to retire safely and why it's 50 to 80% higher than what financial advisors have been telling you for decades. To understand why the 4% rule is broken, we need to go back to 1994. Meet William Bengen, a financial advisor in Southern California. Bengen wanted to answer a simple question. How much can retirees safely withdraw from their portfolios each year without running out of money? He analyzed historical stock and bond returns going back to 1926. He tested every possible 30-year retirement period. He looked at retirees who started in 1929, right before the Great Depression crash, 1966, before a brutal bear market, every scenario. His conclusion became legendary. A retiree could safely withdraw 4% of their initial portfolio value, adjusted annually for inflation, and their money would last at least 30 years in every historical scenario he tested. The 4% rule was born. If you wanted $40,000 per year in retirement, you needed $1 million saved. Simple, clean, repeatable. The financial planning industry embraced it. Fidelity used it. Vanguard referenced it. Every retirement calculator on the internet defaulted to it. It became gospel. But here's what almost nobody tells you. Bengen's study was based on data from 1926 to 1992. A period when bonds yielded 5 to 8% annually, when stocks returned an average of 10% per year, when inflation averaged 3%, when healthcare was a fraction of household budgets, when people died at 75, not 90. None of those conditions exist anymore. According to research published by Morningstar in 2021, the safe withdrawal rate for a 30-year retirement starting today isn't 4%, it's 3.3%. That's a 17.5% reduction in sustainable income from the same portfolio. Your $1 million doesn't generate $40,000 per year safely. It generates $33,000. To get that $40,000, you don't need $1 million. You need $1.2 million, but even that number is optimistic. Here's why the 4% rule fails in the modern economy. First, bond yields have collapsed. When Bengen did his research, 10-year Treasury bonds yielded around 7%. Today, they yield about 4.5%. Bonds are supposed to be the stable, income-generating part of your retirement portfolio. But when bonds yield half of what they did historically, your portfolio generates less cash, forcing you to sell more stocks to fund withdrawals. That accelerates depletion. Second, sequence of returns risk. This is the killer nobody talks about. If you retire and the market drops 20% in year 1 and another 15% in year 2, you're withdrawing money from a shrinking portfolio. You're locking in losses. You're selling stocks at the worst possible time. Even if the market recovers later, you've already depleted too much principal. A 2020 study from the Stanford Center on Longevity found that retirees who experience negative returns in the first 5 years of retirement have a 30% higher chance of running out of money. even if their average returns over 30 years match historical norms. Third, healthcare costs are destroying retirement budgets. According to Fidelity's 2023 retiree healthcare cost estimate, the average 65-year-old couple will spend $315,000 on healthcare throughout retirement. That's not long-term care. That's just regular medical expenses, premiums, co-pays, prescriptions. Healthcare inflation runs about 5.5% annually, almost double general inflation. The 4% rule assumes 3% inflation across all expenses. It doesn't account for healthcare eating an ever larger share of your budget. Fourth, people are living longer. Bengen's 30-year retirement window assumed you'd die by 95 if you retired at 65, but life expectancy keeps rising. A healthy 65-year-old today has a 50% chance of living to 90 and a 25% chance of hitting 95% chance of 95. If you're planning for 30 years but you live 32 or 35 years, the 4% rule leaves you broke at the finish line. Let's walk through what this looks like in real life. Let's say you're 64 years old. You've saved $1 million. You retire in January 2022. You start withdrawing $40,000 per year, exactly 4% of your starting balance. Year 1, 2022, the S&P 500 drops 18%. Your portfolio splits 60% stocks and 40% bonds, falls to about $900,000 after your withdrawal. Year 2, 2023, the market recovers up 26%, but you've already withdrawn from a depleted base. Your portfolio grows back to around $1.05 million. But here's the problem. Your $40,000 withdrawal in year 3 needs to be adjusted for inflation. Inflation in 2022 was 6.5%. In 2023, it was 3.4%. Your $40,000 withdrawal is now $44,600 to maintain the same purchasing power. You're withdrawing 4.2% of your current portfolio, not 4%. By year 5, if inflation averages even 3% annually, you're withdrawing close to 5% of a portfolio that hasn't fully recovered from the initial shock. You're on track to run out of money by age 78. Now let's escalate. Let's say you retire and your spouse gets diagnosed with a chronic condition requiring specialist care and expensive medications not fully covered by Medicare. According to a 2022 study from the Employee Benefit Research Institute, 15% of retirees face unexpected health expenses exceeding $100,000 in the first decade of retirement. Suddenly, you're withdrawing an extra $10,000 per year from your portfolio for 7 years. That's $70,000 of unplanned depletion. Combined with sequence risk and inflation, you've just shortened your safe retirement window from 30 years to maybe 18. But here's where it gets worse. Let's say you plan to downsize your home at 70 to free up equity. But the housing market crashes in year 6 of your retirement. Your home value drops 20%. You can't sell without taking a massive loss. You're stuck with higher property taxes, maintenance costs, and a larger home than you need. Those costs eat another $8,000 per year more than you budgeted. Your retirement plan assumed stable housing costs. Reality delivered the opposite. Let's look at the tax trap. Most retirement savings are in traditional 401ks and IRAs, pre-tax accounts. When you withdraw money, you pay ordinary income tax. If you're taking out $50,000 per year and you're married, you're in the 12% federal bracket plus state taxes. That's $6,000 to $8,000 in taxes annually that reduce your actual spending power. The 4% rule often doesn't account for taxes properly. It assumes gross withdrawals, but you live on net withdrawals. To actually spend $40,000 after taxes, you might need to withdraw $47,000, which is 4.7% of your starting million, not 4%. Here's the pattern. The 4% rule was built on historical averages and best-case assumptions. It assumes average inflation. It assumes average market returns distributed evenly over time. It assumes no major health crises. It assumes you die on schedule. Real life delivers none of those things. Real life delivers clustering, bad years early, medical surprises, and longevity risk. The 4% rule is a 70% solution marketed as a 95% guarantee. Let me show you the math of what a safe retirement actually costs today. According to updated research from Morningstar, Wade Faw at the Retirement Income Institute, and David Blanchett at PGIM, The safe withdrawal rate for a 30-year retirement starting in 2025 is between 3.3% and 3.5%, depending on your asset allocation and risk tolerance. Let's use 3.5% to be slightly optimistic. If you want $40,000 per year in retirement income, you don't divide by 4%. You divide by 3.5%. $40,000 divided by 0.055 cent. $857 divided by 0.055 equals 1,142 seson 2857. Round up, you need $1.15 million. But that's before taxes. If you need $40,000 after tax and you're paying 15% effective tax rate, you actually need $47,000 gross. $47,000 divided by 0.035 equals 1,342,857. You need $1.35 million. But wait, that assumes average healthcare costs. If you want to self-fund the $315,000 Fidelity estimates for a couple's healthcare, that's an additional $10,500 per year over 30 years. Now you need $57,500 annually. Divide by 0.05. You need 1,640,857 parse, wound to $1.65 million. But we're not done. That assumes you die in exactly 30 years. If you want a buffer for living to 95 instead of dying at 95, add 5 more years of expenses. Another $287,500 needed. Spread the risk over 35 years, and your safe withdrawal rate drops to about 3.2%. Now you're looking at $1.8 million to safely generate the same lifestyle the 4% rule promised with $1 million. Let me reframe that. The financial advice you've been following, the retirement calculators you've been using, the projections your 401k provider sends you, they're all telling you that $1 million is the finish line. But if you retire with $1 million today and follow the 4% rule, you have about a 40% chance of running out of money before you die. That's not a retirement plan. That's a coin flip with your future. According to research from the Society of Actuaries, 37% of retirees end up spending down their savings faster than planned due to unexpected costs, lower than expected investment returns, or longer than expected lifespans. The 4% rule worked for the lucky ones who retired in 1982 and rode a 40-year bull market. It's failing the people retiring today into higher valuations, lower yields, and higher costs. Here's how you actually plan for retirement in 2025. Strategy 1. Use a 3.5% withdrawal rate, not 4%. This is the single most important adjustment you can make. Multiply your desired annual income by 28.5 instead of 25. If you want $50,000 per year, you need $1.425 million, not $1.5 million, not $1.25 million. Yes, that's a higher savings target, but it's realistic. The 4% rule gives you false confidence. The 3.5% rule gives you actual security. Strategy 2. Build a healthcare expense buffer separate from your retirement portfolio. Assume you'll spend $300,000 to $400,000 on healthcare as a couple over retirement. Either save that separately in an HSA, which grows tax-free for medical expenses, or add it to your retirement target. Don't assume Medicare covers everything. It doesn't. Supplemental insurance, prescriptions, dental, vision, hearing, long-term care, they all cost extra. If you ignore healthcare inflation, you're planning to fail. Strategy 3. Delay Social Security as long as possible. Every year you delay claiming between 62 and 70 increases your benefit by about 7 to 8%. If your full retirement age benefit is $2,500 per month, but you wait until 70, you get $30,100 per month. That's an extra $7,200 per year for life, inflation adjusted. That reduces how much you need to withdraw from your portfolio, which extends how long your money lasts. Delaying Social Security is the best inflation-protected annuity you can buy, and it's free. Strategy 4. Plan for sequence of returns risk with a bond ladder or cash buffer. Keep 2 to 3 years of living expenses in cash or short-term bonds when you retire. If the market crashes in year 1, you draw from cash, not stocks. You avoid locking in losses. You give your portfolio time to recover. This buffer strategy, recommended by Wade Pfau and other retirement researchers, significantly increases the odds your money lasts 30 plus years. Strategy 5. Stay flexible with spending. The 4% rule assumes you spend the exact same amount every year, adjusted only for inflation. That's not realistic. In good market years, spend a little more. In bad years, cut back 10%. Dynamic spending strategies, like the guardrails approach developed by Jonathan Guyton, allow you to adjust withdrawals based on portfolio performance. This flexibility can increase your safe withdrawal rate back closer to 4% because you're not rigidly depleting a falling portfolio. Here's the thing about the 4% rule that the financial industry doesn't want you to understand. It was never a guarantee. It was a historical backtest that worked in specific conditions that no longer exist. William Bengen himself has said in recent interviews that 4% might be too aggressive for retirement starting today. The guy who created the rule is telling you it's broken, but the industry keeps selling it because $1 million sounds achievable. $1.8 million sounds overwhelming. They'd rather you feel good about an inadequate plan than anxious about a realistic one. Remember that $1 million you started with, the one that was supposed to safely generate $40,000 per year for 30 years? If you follow the 4% rule and you experience just average bad luck, average inflation, average healthcare costs, average longevity, you run out of money at 82. You got 13 more years of life expectancy and $0. That's when you become dependent on Social Security alone, on your kids, on Medicaid. That's when retirement stops being freedom and starts being survival. You have a choice. You can keep believing the outdated math that makes you feel comfortable today and leaves you broke at 80. Or you can face the harder truth, save more, plan smarter, and actually retire with security. The difference between those two paths isn't just money. It's dignity. It's independence. It's the difference between spending your 80s traveling and spending them worried about paying for groceries. If this video just changed how you're planning for retirement, smash that like button and subscribe to this channel. Next week, we're breaking down why your 401k is a ticking tax bomb and how to defuse it before retirement. I'm James, and I'll see you in the next one. The 4% rule isn't broken because math changed. It's broken because the world did.